Hello there. Welcome to my show, COVID-19 Up There by Heerak. Um, Today is October 22nd, 2020. Yeah, today is the date of debate between President Trump and ex-Vice President Joe Biden. It's never good to be called an ex, right? Oh my gosh, I'm an ex. No VP. I'm not a current VP. I'm an ex VP. You know what I mean? It's kind of like reminder that you're down the hill. I'm an ex. It's kind of like after divorce, you're like I'm an ex, like an ex-husband or ex-wife, or ex-girlfriend. It's downhill from there. At least insofar as that relationship is concerned. You know what I'm saying? Today is National Nut Day. At least you could have some nuts. uh, yeah, African drum beats. Oh my goodness, it's good stuff. Tribal music from Africa. Beats of Africa. Did I tell you when I was doing my intensive Latin at University of California at Berkeley? When I was an undergraduate at University of Pennsylvania, I went to summer at Berkeley and did an intensive Latin. I covered like 2 years of Latin in 10 weeks. My roommate was Mamino Hebrew, and he was like a son of a big chief from, I think it was Kenya or Nigeria. And yeah, he said his father was a big chief in, I guess it was Nigeria. Maybe it was Kenya. But he said his tribe is pretty big, Hebrew tribe. And he was an undergraduate student at St. Mary's College in San Francisco area. So he was staying with his aunt in the summer and doing his summer school. Yeah, he's ambitious. I'm sure, he's going to do amazing things, in the future. Um, yeah, I mean, there are people who are really serious about becoming great, and obviously you need support of your family and friends and neighbors and people to become great. Um, yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why family unit stays strong is you kind of need the help of your father, mother, brother and sister and cousins. Um, and that becomes a protection for you, right? You're protected because of your family unit. And in Korea, obviously, the whole nation is 100% Korean, ethnic Koreans. So most nations in the world are extensions of your family unit. So if you go to Philippines, they're all Filipinos. If you go to India, they're all Indian. If you go to China, they're all Chinese. Um, so a nation is nothing but an extension of the smallest family unit that extends to relatives, extended family, and that's how nations were born, right? From same family growing. And when you look at Abraham in the Bible, that's how the Israelites grew, right? From one family. Abraham and Sarah had Isaac. Um, and that one family grew into a big nation. And that's what the covenant of God and Abraham, Brit Olam, everlasting covenant, Brit Olam in Hebrew, that's what it signifies, right? The covenant is that God will make Abraham's children and descendants great. So nations are born from a small family, and that's just the history of humanity, right? Um, yeah. So what's your family like? Yeah. So I thought I'll do top five in Africa, hot COVID-19 cases in Africa. Africans are probably it's probably the continent with least amount of death. It's like COVID heaven. COVID-19 heaven is Africa. Um, because in the Middle East you have Iran, which has a lot of deaths, right? But the number one country for death in Africa is only 18,843, South Africa, and it used to be far less than that. And they only have what 710,515 cases, dying at 3% rate, which is like same as America. But America has so many cases. That's what keeps people dying in America. More cases, more death. 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 You have more cases, you're gonna have more deaths. So even if it's 3% death, the same death rate in Africa, South Africa, as in America, because they don't have as many people infected of COVID-19, they don't have that many deaths. You see what I'm saying? Getting infection under control is 95% of the battle to keeping your citizens alive in a global pandemic like COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah, it's it doesn't take a genius to understand that more cases, more death, more cases, more death, more cases, more death, more cases, more death, more cases, more death. It doesn't take a genius to understand that. So keeping the cases down, that is the key to COVID-19 survival in Virginia, in Arlington, in Alexandria, in Fairfax, and in Falls Church. Keep the cases down. You're going to have less death. Keep the cases up. You're going to have a lot of deaths. You see what I'm saying? Simple math. 2 plus 2 is 4. 2 minus 1 is 1. It's like husband and wife with 3 children. 5 minus 3 is 2. Now you have 3 children dead from COVID. You only have mom and dad left. Hard to find places where it snows in Africa. Yeah, so you see behind me like people in the ski resort, and I have photos from my own fun ski trip. Get this, Cambridge University students, we had a ski trip sponsored by the university, and Cambridge University students took a bus from Cambridge University all the way to Austrian Alps, like Alps in Austria. I went on it because, I like fun. I can't ski, but I figure I could learn to ski, And then, yeah, but anyway, I had a leg injury for some reason. I don't remember why. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember why I had a leg injury. It's a long story, but anyway, so I couldn't ski because I had a leg injury. Unfortunately, I was looking forward to skiing for like 1 week or 2 weeks. It's a couple of weeks of ski trip. So it's a bunch of Cambridge University students, like it was 100% Cambridge University students going on this trip, taking a bus from Cambridge University all the way to the Alps in Austria, country of Austria. First Korean president, South Korean president, married the girl from Austria. Yeah, Korea's like blonde and blue-eyed women, But anyway, yeah, so we went to the, Austrian Alps. And, I had a leg injury, but I wasn't going to cancel my ski trip. There's more to ski trip than skiing. You know what I'm saying? So, I took this trip, with Cambridge University students. And, yeah, all of my friends were kind of lame, maybe because they're like all billionaires. They're like royalty and nobility, and they own like chateaus and like Alps in Switzerland. Most of them, they wouldn't even go to Austrian Alps, because they think like They're so cool. Yeah, I'm just gonna go to my castle in French Alps for the winter. Or yeah, I'm gonna go to Swiss Alps. My family owns acres of land, and we have like a small castle. you know. So like my friends at Cambridge were all like billionaires and nobility and royalty, and so they don't travel in a bus. You know what I'm saying? But I'm a Joe. I'm a Joe from America. Uh, poor pastor's kid. And I said, hey, the price is right. Yeah, I may have friends who are billionaires and millionaires and royalty and princes, but I'm just but a humble genius, humble Leonardo da Vinci, creating his art through his knowledge and creativity, literature, poetry, art, aesthetics. Um, yeah, and I said, and there are beautiful women who are not royalty. So I signed up for this trip. Yeah, it was pretty cheap. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions I made. Going on this like university trip, Cambridge University trip in England. It's elite university in England. It's like the Harvard of England. With like Cambridge University students, like hundreds of them. Um, I'm good at making friends, so I hung out with like a bunch of people from like Newnham College, which is all girls college at Cambridge. Um, you see me with Newnham College girls over there, like in the center. And next to that, they're all like Newnham College girls. Guys are from Petersburg College, which is a mixed college. They have girls and guys. Um, I think one of the guys was dating one of the girls from Newnham, and then you know how that works. So I like infiltrated that group, and they're like the cool kids. You know that song, "Cool Kids." Um, they're like the cool kids in like Peterhouse College, was one of the colleges in Cambridge. Obviously, I'm going to infiltrate a cool group. I'm not going to hang out in a like thug group. You know what I'm saying? So I infiltrated the cool group, and I just hung out with them the whole skid trip. We had a lot of fun time. And the redhead there, she's also from Newnham College, and it turned out like actually they were like royalty and nobility. I mean, who knew, right? But I guess even some royalty and nobility want to travel like commoners. They want to try it out. How does it feel to try travel as a poor person? Go on a trip, school trip. Um, and not go to your own castle. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what they were into. They're going to try this thing out, with the common people. I don't know if you know that song. There's a song from like decades ago, and there's this song about a rich girl, and it says, I want to, it's like I want to be with common people, blah blah blah. I don't know. Maybe some of your older folks, like the boomers, baby boomers, they know this song. Like if you're like 20 something, you could ask your mom or dad about it. They probably know this song. I want to be like with common people. It was like supposed to be like pretty popular at the time it came out. And it's like the girls, who are like royalty and nobility, and the Peterhouse boys, who are like royalty and nobility there. I mean, I infiltrated the group because they're popular, but I guess money does make it kind of popular. I don't know. I'm just me. I'm just a poor intellectual, who writes poetry, writes novels and short stories, who is just an expert of everything. Not everything, but a lot of things. Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century. So wherever I go, everybody wants me in their group. I mean that's always been the case. People just like want me in their group. Everywhere I go around the world. Because I guess they, especially the wealthy ones, like the billionaires and the millionaires and the royalty and nobility. Just by talking to me for like a minute or two, they realize like, man, this guy is like Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century. We have to have him in our group. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't know, but anyway, so I mean, I went to a trip with just by myself, hopped on a trip. All my billionaires and millionaires are like, yeah, yeah. It's not a castle thing. It's not a chateau. You know, I'm like, but those are more fun. You can meet like beautiful women. I mean, just I infiltrated Unum and Petersburg College, Peter House, Cambridge group, and I like met like a lot of pretty women and had a lot of fun. I didn't know a single person in that group before I went there. I mean, I'm in a cooler group at Cambridge. Like my group is like the coolest group, and they were like, cool group, but like, they're like second tier cool group. You know what I'm saying? So as soon as I hang out with the top tier cool group, they were like, so they might have known me by reputation, Oh man, there's Heerak, like the cool guy. Yeah, let's get him to come to our group. I don't know. Maybe they were saying that. I'm not in their group. I originally, so I don't know what they were saying, but I went in and I became part of that group and had fun for like um yeah, a couple weeks. Some of the pretty girls were stalking me when we came back to Cambridge. you know, I don't know. I wouldn't say they were stalking me, but I took like a 6 month massage class, like, and it's like a massage certification class. Like, they offered it, and it was like free. It was part, like any student could take it. So I took it to get a certificate in like professional massage or whatever for 6 months. And like, like after the, well, I took it after. I guess I started after the trip, and like all the Unum girls, like from the ski trip, they came and they're like, hey, Rod. Oh, what can I say? Yeah, yeah, it was a lot of fun, the ski trip. And I mean, what's a ski trip? Just hanging out with a bunch of people from your college, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, then it just becomes your school ski trip. I mean, I go to Austria. What's the point of going to Austria for a school trip if you're just going to hang out with your people from your school, not meet the local yokos? Local yoko. Yeah, so Yoko Ono. Is that like a Beatles wife? I like Beatles songs, but I'm not like, like crazy Beatles fan. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I forgot her name, like Loco Yono, Ono Loco. I mean, such an ancient history ago. I mean, how many people know like Yoko Ono? I mean, you just ask your grandkid, do you know Yoko Ono? They're like, what? Say what? You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, but anyway, I mean, Beatles, they have some good songs, Um, yeah. I guess it's like the grandpa generation, grandpa and grandma with Beatles, Invasion of America. Um, yeah, I guess it might have been like great grandma, great grandpa generation. But anyway, you get my point. But anyway, local yokels. Obviously, I'm gonna go meet like the most pretty ones. If you're gonna get to know local yoko and you have limited time, why like, I mean, you should try to meet the prettiest ones, right? I don't know. That's just the way I go about things in life. So obviously, I met some pretty Austrians. The two girls, next to the video is they're Austrians. From the town. They live in the town. And the girl below me, she's Austrian. She liked me a lot, People like me. So like when my Peter House, Cambridge, and Unum College, Cambridge buddies, new buddies, ski trip buddies. I mean, we didn't go together, but I got on the bus, and when we got there, I made friends. I mean, um, they were skiing during the day because they're like expert skiers. Um, yeah, so I just spend time with the local yokels. I mean, it's like they're there 365 days a year. So it's like, they're not there for the skiing. So, I mean, they can be company. We had a lot of fun. you know, I mean, you got to make your, I mean, uh, yeah, I mean, so I had a lot of fun, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. Um, yeah, I mean, maybe the girls behind me are like Austrians. Yeah, Austrians are pretty. Um, but anyway, let's go back to Africa where it's hot. Um, Number 2 is Morocco with 186,731 cases, 2% death rate, 3,132. Egypt is, top 3 with 106,060 cases, 6% death rate, 6,166. Ethiopia is 91,693 cases, 2% death rate because cases are small, 1,396. More cases, more death, more cases, more death. I mean, geez, it's like 2 plus 2 is 4, or 5 minus 3 is 2. You know what I'm saying? Nigeria is 61,805 cases, ranked 5 in Africa. Only 61,000 cases. More cases, more death. Less cases, less death. You know what I'm saying? So 2% death rate. Can I get a 5 on that? Less cases, less death. Less cases, less death. So they have 1,127 total death in a country of 100 million. Hey, Mamindo Ivaru, son of a chief. He's probably a chief by now. I mean, not that I want his death to pass away. Can you be a chief when your dad, who's a chief, is still alive? I don't know. I don't know how these things work. But I guess it's like royalty, right? I'm Mamino Hebrew. He's like an African royalty because his father is a chief of tribe. And I think chief is like royal in a way. Some of these, tribal leaders are like, loaded, like billionaires. And I don't know if it's Nigeria or Kenya, but, country that has like oil money. But anyway, we have vocal. Yeah, U.S. has 1,100 deaths in 24 hours, one day. Yeah, we're going to death. And we're going to have like massive death in the next 6 months. We're going to have death everywhere in America. Because you know why? More cases, more death. 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 So we have like, what? Currently on October 22nd, 8,404,524 cases. More cases, more death. 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 So we have 223,000 deaths. That's like 250,000 Americans have died since like March. Less than a year, we have 250,000 people dead. And we're talking about like mostly post-flu season. Like, like March is like tail end of flu season. I started my show on April 2nd, 2020. And on that day, we had like 7,000 deaths in the whole country in America. Jeez. Like 420,000 deaths basically has come from April 2nd onwards. Ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. But, more case, more death. You can't escape it. You cannot escape it. And that's why Heerak Christian Kim, that's me, independent candidate for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District, worked 3 long months for you and your children to close down Arlington Public Schools, Alexandria City Public Schools, Falls Church City Public Schools, and Fairfax County Public Schools. 4 public school districts that are in Virginia's 8th District where I'm running to be your congressman. You are lucky that you have a leader like me who looks into the future based on facts and figures and data and numbers to save you and your children from COVID-19. You know, there are people who are just like, they don't see it. They're like blind, walking in the dark. They're blind. They just don't see it. They don't see the simple truth. More cases, more death. More cases, more death. More cases, more death. More cases, more death. Like the superintendent of Fairfax County Public Schools, superintendent of Arlington Public Schools. I'm disappointed in you, the new superintendent of Arlington Public Schools. It's probably because he came from Fairfax County. I'm disappointed in you. I'm not gonna lie. I had high hopes for you. You know, the new superintendent of Arlington County Public Schools. I thought he would see reason, and he's like a Latino, and he sees like Latin America is like continent of death. Now, how could he open up schools? That doesn't make sense to me. You know, because there's more cases, more death. But you know, it's from Fairfax County, and those people in Fairfax County, like in the Fairfax County public schools, they're like déjeuner, to use the French word, déjeuner. They're complete déjeuner, meaning like they're in German like verrucht, verrucht. Yeah. And is it in Arabic? Is that like majnoon? I don't know. Majnoon, Majnoon, Majnoon. Oh my gosh. Ah, Zurtu fi baitu rafiki. Yeah, I learned some Arabic. Harastu Arabia Fusa fi jamia fi Quds. Yeah, I mean that's Arabic. Yeah, I learned some Arabic. Yeah, my Arabic teacher is Yael Cohen. Yeah, she's Jewish. She's from Yemen. Like she immigrated from Yemen. Her family, Jewish family, lived in Yemen for like maybe thousands of years. You know, she's a Jewish family from Yemen. Teman, Yemenite. You know, you read about Yemenites in the Bible, right, in the Old Testament. So her family's been like Jewish in Yemen for the longest time. You know, she doesn't even remember how long. Could be like thousands of years. Because Solomon had like 1,000 wives, as you know from the Bible, and one of his wives was black from Yemen. I mean, they're not black technically; they're like, they're dark skinned. Like Indians are not black; they're not Africans, but their skin can be darker than some Africans. Well, not really. Like, yeah, because Africans are black if they don't have mixed blood, but their skin can be darker than African Americans because some African Americans have white blood. But anyway, yeah, but they're technically not African or black. I mean, they are technically black because their skin color is like totally black. Some of them, but they're they're not totally black like African black. Like Africans with no white blood for thousands of years, they're like totally black. Yemenites are not like that. But Yemenites, some of them have skin that's darker than like African Americans. And Indians too. You have Indians in some parts of India, their skin is darker than like average African Americans. Like Kamala Harris, she's like mixed African and Indian, right? And her skin is kind of like lighter tone, but she still has like a African American skin tone. Because an average African American in America have Kamala Harris skin tone, right? But you have African Americans who are like 100% like really black skin color. And those are the ones who haven't like been raped by white slave owners, or had interracial marriage, or secret love affair, because some slave owners and slaves had love affairs. It's not just like rapes, right? They said Thomas Jefferson had a black lover among one of his slaves, right? That's the story. I mean, I don't know too much about Thomas Jefferson, the founder of University of Virginia, but that's the folk tale or myth. So but anyway, the point is this drumstick is like hypnotic. you know, can you be hypnotized by a sound pattern, or does it just have to be visual? I mean, I should have somebody who's like an expert can Hypnosis. Like, you know, like, do you know any hypnosis? Like, email me if you do know, like, professional hypnosis. I wonder if you could, like, hypnotize somebody just, like, with sounds. Because generally, when you talk about hypnosis, you talk about people, like, looking at, like, oh, we'll just watch the hand, and then you get hypnotized, right? Like visual patterns. Can you be hypnotized by sound patterns? Hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting question, but that's for another day. Yeah, let's just go to the articles. So the question we're asking is, will open schools bring COVID-19 deaths in flu season to your town? And I say COVID-19 world because America is not the only country where schools are open. There are schools open in England, France, Germany, and they're seeing spikes in COVID because of these open schools, which I predicted, right? Right? Didn't I tell you when you open schools, you're going to have more cases? And we know more cases, more death, more cases, more death, more cases, more death, more cases, more death. Why do you think I marched for your life for 3 months to close our Arlington public schools? Because you open up Arlington public schools, you're going to have like tens of thousands of people in Arlington die. I live in Arlington. Now my neighbors live in Arlington, obviously, because we're in Arlington. They could die. Some people want to open up schools because they're like, hey, I gotta go to work and I have to have like kids going to school. This is where the family comes in. Familia, familia. Like if you live with your grandma, grandpa who's retired, you go to work. I mean, obviously, try to work at home. Um, and they could, your grandpa, grandma could take care of your children. I mean, obviously, if you bring COVID-19 into your home, you know, there's the danger that could exist, but there's dangers everywhere. Obviously, you want to reduce the danger by not working outside of your home. If you can help it, just work at home. But not everybody can afford to do that. Um, so, minimize your social fun time with other people who are not from your household to minimize that, right? I mean, I'm predicting, I'm Heerak Christian Kim, independent candidate for U.S. Congress and Virginia's 8th District. I'm predicting 30 million Americans will die by June. Um, and, that's a drop in the bucket. I'm predicting 100 million people around the world will die by June 2021. Some Americans will be in a higher jeopardy. Like if you're a nurse, your life is in jeopardy. There's high chance you're going to get COVID. And somebody in your family will die. Like you may not die, you may die. I mean, let's not rule that out. But you may bring it home and your child may die from COVID. Somebody somebody who you're close to will die if you're a nurse. Just because, I mean, we have 6 months of it and you're going to be exposed to this for 6 months. Obviously, if you're a grocery clerk, your job is not as dangerous because you have glass pane. As long as you're wearing face mask and face shield, and I mean, face shield. One of the great things about face shield, I wear that at a hospital. it's just like plastic, So like anything anybody spits or talks or breathes gets bounced off. If you're talking, because it's like a face shield. It's a whole shield, That's one of the great things about the shield. They fog up, that's the bad thing about the shield. But yeah, it's like an insulator. It gets really hot in there in the face shield area. that's just the bad thing about the face shield. But yeah. But anyway, if you work in a grocery store and you wear a face shield and a mask and invest in some N95 mask and you don't talk to anybody up close, I mean, you may never get COVID. You may survive this. But if you like take down your face shield or you take down your mask and people spit goes into your face and you without knowing you rub your eyes with it, I mean you get COVID. I mean it's that easy to get COVID. That's what the scientists are telling us. And obviously they had time to observe it in March and April and May. So, they're basing it on what the experience has been. But theoretically, if you don't rub your eyes with your finger that touched COVID-19 spit, that may not be visible, I mean, you may be able to not get COVID, right? There is that possibility. So some of you who are careful may not get COVID, will not spread it to your family. Even if you work like at a grocery store. Bus drivers are a little bit different. It's like grocery store, it's high ceilings. So if you're careful, you can escape a bus driver. I'm sorry, but you're out of luck because COVID-19 is airborne, and that little small bus space. I mean, geez, COVID is flying around there. So, and you're speeding with your bus, and then you're stopping. So if the COVID-19 is like in the back of the bus and you stop, all the COVID will be like hitting your front windshield. You know how that is when you drive really fast and put brakes on. Children like some children like come to the front seat, from the back seat. I mean, like when you have to make an immediate stop because of a crazy driver. You know, um, it's like that with COVID. They're floating around in the bus. I mean, if you're a bus driver, you're out of luck. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, you're kind of out of luck. I mean, invest in an N95 mask, but you're still kind of, I mean, what are you going to do? Not take that thing off? You can't drink coffee or anything. I mean, just have that stuck to your face. Yeah, it's pretty bad for bus drivers. It's going to be pretty bad for any kind of bus drivers, anybody in a confined space like that, like teachers. I mean, geez, teachers are probably among the most dangerous jobs in America. Yeah, because you're in a small space with little kids, who can't even wear a mask. They may not wear a mask. They may not know how to wear a mask, and you're teaching them. I mean, nursing job is dangerous because you're taking care of patients at a very close space. But teacher's job is pretty dangerous because like you may not be like face to face with a kid, but I mean you're in a small space and COVID-19 is flying around. It's airborne, aerosol precaution. Little kids, how little kids are. I'm an elementary school teacher. I teach elementary school children. Uh, in public school, so I know how elementary school kids are. They cough and sneeze, they rub their nose and they rub it in their shirt, sometimes they rub it in their fellow friends. Sometimes they like rub their hand and they touch teacher with it. I mean, yeah, if you're a teacher, you're out of luck. I mean, geez, a lot of teachers are gonna die. You can't avoid it. Um, yeah, I mean, and that's why your children may bring COVID back home to you. You may die from the COVID that your child brings home. That's why I'm trying to, that's why I worked out 3 months to close down public schools in all 4 areas, Arlington, Alexandria, Fairfax, and Fairfax County, and I successfully closed them down, right? Saving life is worth it. I march for your life. Your life is important to me. But apparently, there are Democrats who are like school board members in Arlington, Alexandria, Falls, and Fairfax County who don't think your life is that important, and they want to open up schools. And, it's just sad that your life means so little to these school board members. I say vote them out in November 2020 because obviously they don't respect you. They don't respect your life. They don't want to save your children. They only care about the mighty dollar. They just want to make money off of you. You're suffering, your children suffering, maybe your children's COVID-19 death, your COVID-19, it's sick. Yeah, I'm going to read the 3 articles. First article is Houston teachers stay sick out protest to demand better COVID-19 protocols. And the article is by Laura Isensi in CNBC, Houston Public Media. It may just be Houston Public Media, but it looks nicer with CNBC. But CNBC may not belong there. I don't know. I have to go double check, but it may be a typo. Just letting you know. October 22nd, the significant quote from there is, teachers from a few dozen campuses across Houston Independent School District stage are sick out. Protesters, they calling out of work to demand a safer learning environment for themselves and their students during the pandemic. Organizers urged teachers who called in sick to take the day to get a COVID test. I mean, technically, you got to get a test every day because you may be negative yesterday, but you may be positive today. You know what I'm saying? If you're teaching, you should probably get a test every day. Among their demands, capping class sizes at 15 students with 6 feet of social distancing required. And that's not as easy to maintain, you know, even if you have that protocol. Serving meals outside in a large, well-ventilated areas. I mean, you know, you could serve meals in like gymnasium that could help, but you gotta separate the kids like 10 feet each. You know, good luck with that. Um, Serving meals outside in a large, well-ventilated, you can't really serve food outside if it's cold, wintertime, and not in classrooms as many schools are doing. I mean, geez, you have to take off your mask to eat. That's when your children will get COVID. It's impossible to avoid if you're sending your children to school. That's why I recommend you not to send your children to school if your school is holding in-person classes, because they'll have to take off the mask to eat. If they're doing it in a little confined space, not in a big area, open area, this is asking for death, COVID-19 death. Yeah. Improving HVAC and air circulation for all classrooms. Yeah, negative pressure rooms. Suck the air out. Yeah, it's going to be costly though. It's going to cost every school millions of dollars to have that. You know, you suck the air out, so you suck like, you know, virus out of the building. I mean, it's not 100% foolproof, but it helps. A lot of hospitals are beginning to do that. It's sucking air out, like the negative pressure rooms, hallways, whole building becomes negative pressure. And adding mask policies to the student and staff code of conduct. I mean, you know, because it's airborne, masks don't protect you 100%, unfortunately, you know. Airborne, you know, means it's floating around. So any small opening in your mask means you could enter through that small opening because it's floating around. Second article, I don't know what to do anymore. Utah officials shared dire words as state sees COVID record 1,543 new COVID-19 cases. I mean, just a few weeks ago, Utah only had a few hundred cases. Look at this now. Headed to massive death. I mean, you know, minimum 100,000 will die in Utah. That's like guaranteed. Because you know why, right? More cases, more death. 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 That's why. Yeah, I mean, it's unavoidable. You have more cases, you have more deaths. I don't believe the liberal media that says, oh, you know, you could have a lot of cases, but hey, children don't die. You know, children, yeah, right. You know how many children have died so far? Yeah, I mean, don't be surprised if your child dies. Don't believe in liberal media that says your child can get COVID and your child's not going to die. Yeah. Talk to me after you bury your child in a graveyard. Because that's what you'll be doing if your child gets COVID during flu season. Some of you, yeah, I mean, if your child can get COVID, your child can die from COVID. Many children have died from COVID in summertime, in wintertime. Well, it only started like in end of April, May in New York. That's why I call it New York virus. The children kind of started dying from COVID. But now, you know, it's happening everywhere. I'm going to read this article. Some of you may be from Utah, may have relatives in Utah, so listen carefully. Utah's number of COVID-19 cases has increased by 1,543 on Thursday. Another new single-day record for new cases. 6 deaths were also reported Thursday, according to the Utah Department of Health. Health officials had dire words Thursday, as Utah continues to experience the COVID-19 surge, it's only beginning. Utah, 6 more months, 6 more months, exponentially grow. You have to shut down Utah, or you're gonna have minimum 100,000 deaths. You could hit a million deaths. It's possible. Um, Health officials had dire words Thursday as Utah continues to experience the COVID-19 surge. The governor, Gary Herbert, was one of the worst in the country earlier this month. I mean, geez, it's not even November yet. Can you imagine how many people are going to get COVID in Utah in November? Die from COVID in November? Utah, hate to break it to you, but you're going to massive number of deaths in your state. Because you know why, right? More cases, more death. 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 As you know, I'm predicting that every state will have minimum 60,000, 60,000 COVID-19 cases in the next 6 months. And if you have 60,000 cases of death, 60,000 cases of death per state, and there are 50 states, you're going to have 3 million deaths. As I said, I'm predicting there will be more like 30 million deaths. So there will be more average of 600,000 deaths per state. The state like New York, you probably have 2-3 million die, by June. That's highly likely. You should be surprised if that happened, because you know why, right? Because they already had an experience of having COVID-19 kill them in April. So we know it could spread like wildfire in the state. So history always repeats itself. So New York should expect the history to repeat itself in the flu season, unfortunately. Yeah, millions can die in one state, like New York, Texas, California, Florida, large states. Yeah. Third article. Massachusetts health officials order ice rinks to close through November 7th, citing COVID-19 concerns. It's by staff in ABC News. And the significant quote that you should remember is Massachusetts health officials have ordered all indoor ice rinks and ice skating facilities to close from Friday, that's tomorrow, through November 7th. So, it's a few weeks, citing numerous outbreaks of COVID-19. There were traced back to ice hockey games, practices, and tournaments. I guarantee you, there are more cases in your local school that's open. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Every school that's open will give COVID cases, and you know what? The simple truth: more cases, more death. More cases, more death. More cases, more death. More cases, more death. Yeah, if you can get it, you can die from it. As I said, minimum 10,000 nurses, I'm predicting will die by Christmas 2020. And I am predicting that minimum 12 nurses in every hospital in this area will die. I'm not even counting physical therapists, occupational therapists, surgeons, hospitalists, receptionists, security guards, case managers, food people who make the food. I'm not even including them in the number. Obviously, many of them will die too, but I'm just talking about nurses. I'm saying 12 nurses will minimum, 12 nurses will die by Christmas 2020. Obviously, from Christmas to May or June, you're gonna have dozens or maybe even hundreds of nurses die, depending on how bad it is, how bad COVID gets. But I'm saying minimum 12 by Christmas time. Yeah, yeah, it's going to be bad. Um, so that's going to be 12, minimum 12 people dying from COVID in my hospital, Virginia Hospital Center. Minimum 12 nurses dying in Innova Fairfax Hospital. Minimum 12 nurses dying in Innova Alexandria Hospital. Minimum 12 nurses dying in MedStar Georgetown University Hospital. Minimum 12 nurses dying in George Washington University Hospital. Minimum 12 nurses dying in Children's National Hospital. Maybe more because children, they like cough all over you. So maybe like there'll be like a couple dozen or maybe even like 50 nurses die from COVID in Children's National Hospital. Um, and then you have like Suburban Hospital, minimum 12 nurses will die. Minimum 12 nurses will die from Sibley Hospital. Minimum 12 nurses will die in Washington Hospital Center, but it's a bigger hospital, so maybe like 50. Who knows? Bigger your hospital, probably you have many more nurses die. So you should expect it. And I think the most vulnerable nurses are nurses who work in emergency room, nurses who work in ICUs. Probably, operating room OR nurses are pretty safe because, everybody's wearing a mask anyway. They have to keep everything sterile, so they're very careful. Patients are probably covered up with like a mask as well, or so it's probably safer. I don't know, maybe not. If the patient is ventilated, generally things are going in and out through the machine, so it may not be dangerous, like really dangerous. Like ICU nurses are very dangerous because you have to take out the ventilator and then put in the ventilator, and not everybody may be on a ventilator. So ICU nurses are probably like chief candidates for death. But on the other hand, ICU nurses know that they're playing with life and death. So they may be like on stress alert, fight or flight, sympathetic nervous system responds for 12 hours. And they may be on red alert. So they may actually be so cautious that they may not get COVID. Whereas like nurses in med surg unit, like oncology unit or, stroke unit or, like regular hospital units, they may not be as careful. And it's possible that because they're not on red alert, being afraid of getting COVID, like in downtime or, they let down the guard and they're going to get COVID. My chief nursing manager today was telling everybody at the huddle that if you don't wear like a face shield or face goggles, because COVID-19 can go through your eyes. Like if you don't, if somebody coughs on you and little spit particles goes into your eye, you get COVID. So you're supposed to wear a goggle. So like if you're walking around in like real life, you should probably wear a mask and a goggle because obviously, if you talk to people, not everybody may be wearing a mask. And if somebody spits on you while they talk, you know how you felt people spit, like hit your face when you talk to people? If it goes into your eye, you can get COVID. So you may want to make a standard policy to wear an eye gear, like especially if you work at like Giant or Walmart or 7-Eleven, Kmart. You talk to a lot of customers. You may want to wear an eye shield, or eye goggle. But yeah, she was saying like if you get COVID-19, while working at Virginia Hospital Center, and you are not wearing a goggle or face shield, then if you get sick, they're not going to pay you. Yeah, because you violated hospital policy of requiring you to wear a face shield. And obviously, it seems like a lot of people are violating the hospital policy because I got an email from Virginia Hospital Center, like I think it was the chief nursing officer, Melody Dickerson, I think is her name, chief nursing officer. I think it might not have been the chief nursing officer who sent the email out. It's like, you need to wear a mask. You need to wear a mask, not mask. Everybody wears a mask, but you need to wear goggles. You need to wear face shields, And I guess there are a lot of people not doing it, you know. So like our nurse manager, she's really a wonderful person, and she's the one who hired me at Virginia Hospital Center. And so she was telling all of us at the huddle, nurses huddle, that if you get COVID-19 and you weren't wearing a mask, they won't pay you. Like you could be sick for like 12, like you have COVID and you're like not working for 14 days. If you wore like face shield, or like a goggle, then they will pay you out of sick leave because you were wearing like the proper PPE, personal protective equipment. But if you are not wearing a face shield, if you are not wearing a goggle, and you get COVID-19, you cannot even use your sick day because you violate a policy. And let's say you get COVID, and some people are intubated for 6 months. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you're going to be out for 14 days. You may be out just for 14 days, but you may end up in an ICU. You may enter into coma, and you may be in a ventilator for 6 months. Because there have been people who've been in ventilators for 6 months. For that 6 month period, if you're a nurse, I'm sure this will happen to a lot of nurses in this area. Um, you're not going to get paid for 6 months, and you're like, you may die after 6 months in the ICU, and you're not going to get paid. I don't know what happens to your retirement. I don't know how that impacts you, but my chief nursing manager just talked about our pay. You get COVID-19, you can't even get sick day. I mean, they won't pay you. It's unpaid, right? And it's like you're taking off without a sick day. What do you think is going to happen if you take off without a sick day? The sick day won't count because you didn't wear a mask. You do the math. You know what I'm saying? Um, So, I mean, Virginia Hospital Center is getting really serious as COVID-19 cases are spiking in Virginia. Like we had like 30 deaths yesterday in 24 hours in Virginia. It's going to spike up to probably, we may have up to like 1,000 deaths per day. The height of flu season just in Virginia. So, I mean, it's going to be bad. I mean, with Fairfax County trying to open up public schools, these like Democratic board members in Fairfax County for the open up schools, obviously, you shouldn't be surprised if we have like 1,000 deaths per day in the state of Virginia. Um, yeah. So, I mean, it's going to keep getting worse. Obviously, hospitals are reminding their nurses of serious policies because they don't want their nurses to die. You know what I'm saying? Can you imagine if like 20% of your nurses get COVID? They're all not in the hospital because they get COVID. How are you going to function with like 80% of nurses? You see what I'm saying? So it's in hospitals' interest to make sure that you don't get COVID. You know what I'm saying? Because if you lose 20% of your nurses, let's say all the hospitals in Virginia lost 20% of nurses because they got COVID, the death rate from COVID could go from 3% to 20% in the whole state of Virginia. You know what I'm saying? So it makes sense. Like hospitals are getting nervous. Obviously, we have 6 more months to go. 6 more months to go. That's a half a year to go. We're only getting started, and we're not even like 10% of where we're going to be in the height of flu season. I mean, you're going to have hospitals where you're going to have like dozens of people lined up dead. They can't remove the bodies fast enough, clean the bodies fast enough. You're going to have like dead bodies like everywhere from COVID. That's coming in the flu season. You should not be surprised if you're working as a nurse. Like every floor has dead bodies like lined up in the hallway. Because because like you can have a day where hundreds of people die from COVID, like in one day in your hospital. That could happen. That's coming, especially in this concentrated area of Fairfax County and Arlington, Alexandria. I mean, geez, Washington, D.C. This area is yeah, you're going to see like death after death. Remember, when New York was experiencing COVID-19, it didn't quite reach this area um, during the flu season. So a lot of people died in New York and New Jersey, but we kind of lucked out because summer came before like COVID-19 really aggressively spread everywhere in the flu season, right? But now it's going to be here for 6 months. So you should expect like million people to die in DMV zone, like DC, Northern Virginia, Southern Maryland. I would not be surprised if a million people die in this area. And you're going to have like hundreds of people die in every embassy, so, like people who work in the embassy, their children, their family members, uh, Marines who protect the embassy. So a lot of federal agents will die, Secret Service agents will die from COVID-19. A lot of Homeland Security agents will die, like federal agencies with so many deaths, it's not even going to be funny. Pentagon will be like flooded with deaths, COVID-19 deaths. That's all coming. Yeah, I mean, you should not be surprised if 1 million people die in this DMV zone. I think you should expect it. If you're Homeland Security, and I know you Homeland Security people are watching this show, because I am the Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century, and you need my erudition, my knowledge and insight and analysis to prepare for where you need to go. So I know you FBI agents, CIA, Homeland Security, NSA agents are watching this show because you need guidance. And I'm happy to guide you through this COVID-19. And one thing I'm telling you need to prepare for is 1 million people dying in this area, which could include over 100,000 deaths in federal agencies, all kinds of federal agencies. You should expect minimum 100,000 federal employees to die. I think that's not asking for too much in a COVID-19 era, especially like field agents in FBI, Homeland Security, NSA. They're going to die in the U.S. Marshals. They're going to die in massive numbers. DEA, ICE. But even like you have Treasury Department and I mean, yeah, you should expect minimum 100,000 federal government workers to die by June. Minimum 100,000. They live in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. Yeah, a lot of federal government employees will die. I mean, think about it. This is a COVID-19 that's killing, and it's going to spread and kill. You act as a field agent for FBI, of course you're going to get COVID and die. Why is that surprising? Anybody who's doing any kind of field work, Secret Service, FBI, and NSA, Homeland Security, CIA, ICE, I mean, you're risking COVID-19 death. A lot of police officers will die, obviously. A lot of firefighters will die, obviously. That's like a given. If you're a police officer or firefighter, you should write out your will because there's very high chance you'll die. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm saying anything that is irrational. If you're a federal agent, you should write out a will because you can die. And if you're a federal agent, you should obviously make sure you prepare for the possibility your children will be orphaned because you and your wife will die from COVID-19. Yeah, I think you need to prepare for that. We have 6 more months to go. We haven't really even entered the flu season yet. Technically, I mean, flu may be spreading somewhere, but technically flu season is, it's about to start. Technically, I mean, you have the pre-flu season. It's kind of like pre-diabetes. You don't really have diabetes, but it's like pre-diabetes. So flu season has started, and that's why you see the spikes. But the real flu season is coming. And obviously it's going to be different in different areas, but yeah, you should expect millions of deaths in the flu season in America alone. But I mean, there's going to be billions of deaths in England, millions of deaths in Scotland, France, Germany. This is COVID-19. What do you expect? I mean, what are you going to do? Reason with COVID-19, a killer virus, whose whole purpose for existing is to infect and kill? As I said, I'm not going home for Thanksgiving. I love my mom. I love my dad. I love my sisters. I want to see them. And we have the best food. And I'm not going because I don't want to be the source of my mother's death. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be the source of my father's death. That's why I am not going home for Thanksgiving. Obviously, I love to go home for Thanksgiving, but a lot of people are going to die in Thanksgiving, like grandpa, grandma, mom, pop. Yeah. And can you imagine the psychological turmoil you're going to experience if your nurse goes back to like Wisconsin and then your grandpa and grandma or your mom and pop die like a month later? And they don't know who gave it to them, but you have this aching feeling that you might have given it. You may end up committing suicide. And don't commit suicide, obviously, because you commit suicide, you go straight to hell. And there's no reason to commit suicide for any reason. But some nurses who are not truly Christians may. So I think it's in the hospital's interest, maybe, to put a policy that no nurses should go spend Thanksgiving with family members who are not in their household, like living normally at home. Because you don't want like thousands of nurses committing suicide, after Thanksgiving. I mean, probably thousands will not, but because it's obviously, hundreds of thousands of people are going to get COVID after Thanksgiving, including nurses' parents. And so, I mean, if I were the chief nursing officer, I would probably create a policy for all nurses not to go home during Thanksgiving. Uh, you know, not to go to any kind of family gathering Thanksgiving. That's what I would do. But I'm not a chief nursing officer. I mean, you could theoretically lose 50% of your nursing workforce if they get COVID on Thanksgiving. How's Virginia Hospital Center going to operate with 50 nurses getting COVID in Thanksgiving? I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe our chief nursing officer, Melody Dickerson, has a plan. I don't see any plan. I don't see how a hospital can survive if 50% of the nurses get COVID on Thanksgiving from their relatives. It's not only about nurses giving COVID to their relatives and killing them. They may get COVID from their relatives and they may not die, but they may have COVID, in which case they can't work in the hospital. How are you going to operate a hospital with 50% of the nurses quarantined from COVID? I don't know. I mean, you need to, consider these factors because Thanksgiving is only 1 month away. We're entering flu season. I mean, if you don't have a game plan for Thanksgiving, obviously you suck as a chief nursing officer. I mean, you know what I'm saying? 100% of nursing is preparation, Nursing plan and nursing care, you do the, assessment and then you have to do the diagnosis and you have to plan. I mean, Thanksgiving is coming 1 month away. You're doing the assessment. You see these spikes of COVID in Virginia. Spike of COVID, Arlington is number 5 for new COVID cases every day. Fairfax County is number 1 in the state of Virginia. So you're doing the assessment and understanding what's going on. You got to do the diagnosis. Risk for COVID-19 infection of nurses due to proliferation of COVID-19 throughout Virginia and America, as evidenced by over 60,000 new cases of COVID per day. That could be nursing diagnosis 1. Nursing diagnosis 2, risk of COVID-19 death related to more cases, more death, more cases, more death. Okay, well, but to be serious here, I like that song. More cases, more death, more cases, more death. It's just, it's kind of catchy. But, going back to the second nursing diagnosis, risk for COVID-19 death related to compromised environmental conditions. That includes the temperature drop. That includes, bacteria, winter seasonal viruses becoming more active or becoming active. So risk for COVID-19 death related to environmental factors as evidenced by 1,010 people dying in the last 24 hours. Now, so you do the assessment, now you have a nursing diagnosis, now you gotta do the planning. So what kind of planning are you gonna have? What kind of short-term interventions, like what is gonna be your short-term goal? Virginia Hospital Center will not have more than 5% COVID-19 infections after Thanksgiving. That could be a smart goal, right? Smart goal is it's achievable. Smart A in the achievers is achievable. T is, timely. You have a time. I should remember every single one of these. Smart, SMART. Yeah, but you get my point. So you gotta have a plan that works, and you gotta put a time limit on it. So short-term goal is less than 5% of the nurses, RN nurses at Virginia Hospital Center will have COVID-19 a week after Thanksgiving. That could be a short-term goal. You could have another goal is, so let's just stick with one smart goal, short-term goal. Long-term goal is Virginia Hospital Center will not lose 10%, will not have 10% of RN nurses quarantined or sick or dying with COVID-19 by Christmas. That could be like a long-term goal. 2 months, 1 month. 1 month technically can be a long-term goal. But you get my point. You have to use the nursing process to prevent COVID-19 proliferation among the hospital staff, especially nurses. You have to use the nursing process to prevent COVID-19 death of RN nurses. You see what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying, I think it's a smart thing to require RN nurses not to go to any family Thanksgiving celebrations that are not going to be done in their own household. Like, you live every day with your family. But, you cannot introduce any new nurses into that environment. I mean, new relatives. And you will not go to an environment where you have not been in. So you need to do this if you're going to survive COVID-19. Because if you get 50% of your hospital RNs infected with COVID-19, in the beginning of December, you're screwed. Not only as a city, but as a hospital. And hospital needs to operate. How are you going to operate if 50% of nurses have COVID-19 within 2 weeks of Thanksgiving? You don't think this could happen in some hospitals? After Thanksgiving, everybody's eating, they're not wearing their mask. You think your living room can provide the right social distancing and self-isolation to prevent you from getting COVID? Your living room? Your living room? I'm just being realistic here because I don't believe in the liberal media that there is any safe way to have a Thanksgiving dinner with your relatives who come from outside of your household. There is zero safe ways to have a Thanksgiving dinner as a family that includes any relatives that don't eat every day at your home. Hopefully our chief nursing officer, Melody Dickerson, is smart. I think she is. My impression is that she's smart. Obviously, any hospital that has 50% of the nurses sick with COVID by Christmas, you just have to blame the chief nursing officer because the buck stops with CNO, chief nursing officer, right? I mean, if there are 1,000 hospitals, how come some hospitals have less than 5% nurses with COVID and other hospitals have 30% of nurses who have COVID, right? You have to blame the chief nursing officer. Just like you gotta blame the superintendent of your school district for proliferating COVID cases. If you didn't open your school, there should be 0 cases of COVID from your school. I mean, what good is nursing process if you're not going to use it? I believe in the nursing process. I use the nursing process in everyday life, in the decisions I make. As you know, I'm a registered nurse in the state of Virginia with multi-state license. I can practice as a nurse in like 30 states. And I have a Washington, D.C. license because they don't participate in multi-state. California doesn't participate in multi-state. Pennsylvania does not participate in multi-state. So I have a Washington, D.C. license as well. Yeah, I mean, the whole point of having a nursing diagnosis, nursing planning, the nursing process is so that you could use the nursing process to save lives. For God's sake, if you're not going to use nursing process in COVID-19 era, I mean, geez. This is why you need CNLs. I'm a clinical nurse leader. I'm nationally certified as a clinical nurse leader. And this is what we do. We do evidence-based research. We do evidence-based research to improve the hospital unit, right? And obviously, I consider it an important mission. Like, obviously, I'm a newbie. I'm in the RN residency program. I'm like a rookie. Nobody's going to listen to me probably, but right now because I'm a rookie. You know how rookies are, but if I weren't a rookie, if I could like submit an evidence-based research and you know, uh, provide recommendations, I would say require all nurses to not go to any family Thanksgiving dinner, like physically. That's what I would do. Because, I mean, we're talking about essential workers without whom our nation can't even have 50 million deaths or more. So, I mean, let's be honest here. We're not talking about a joking situation here. Yeah, I'll bring you more facts and figures and expert analysis and recommendations. But who knows, I'm a rookie at Virginia Hospital Center. I just started. Hopefully, 1 year from now, I will no longer be a rookie. but I'm a rookie. What can I say? But I am a CNL, nationally certified clinical nurse leader, and that's what we are trying to do, right? We are trained to do evidence-based research, and we're trained to improve the unit to maximize its potential, and so, and obviously at the public health level, we do that in a community setting. And this is part of what I'm doing as a clinical nurse leader, really. I use evidence-based research, right? And you see 3 documents ahead of you, right? These are evidence-based documents. Not specifically in nursing, but it's evidence-based in the sense that in terms of public health nursing, we use more broad documents and research and data to find a solution for survival for the community, like Arlington County. Um, so this is what we do, clinical nurse leaders. I've been trained for 2 years at Georgetown University. I'm just using my training and my expertise as a clinical nurse leader. I'm a certified expert by definition, right? I'm a clinical nurse leader to provide solutions to survival. You know, um, no serious nurse uh, is going to say you won't have infections. You know what I'm saying? Because they've seen infections and what it can do to a person. Um, yeah, and COVID-19 is an infection. That's why I'm going to do a cheer for our Georgetown University CNL students. We had 2 years of full-time learning. We graduated with like 75 units, master's level units. And we're trained as clinical nurse leaders. And we are technically clinical nurse leaders. We are trained to be experts, right? And there's like what, There aren't that many of us in the nation. There are 4 million nurses. There aren't that many clinical nurse leaders, CNL. I mean, you're looking at the elite of the elite in terms of training. Obviously, you can be trained at the U.S. Naval Academy to be a naval officer, but after 4 years of attending U.S. Naval Academy, you board that nuclear submarine, you board that big destroyer ship. You're a rookie, right? You're learning the ropes. You know, and that's what CNLs are. We're trained, but in the battlefield, in the actual scene, we're rookies. You see what I'm saying? And so that's yeah. But so 25 of us were trained at Georgetown University, one of the best universities in the world, to be clinical nurse leaders, right? For 2 years, we were trained intensely. And I'm predicting even out of us 25, 5 will die by Christmas. Because it's an infection, you get infected, you die, right? I mean, you can. So I'm going to go cheer for my fellow CNLs. CNL 2020, Georgetown University, yay! We were trained for 2 years in the art of nursing leadership in the clinical setting. Now we can use it in COVID-19 America, yay! But some of us are going to die. But yay, we can use our skill sets in real world, yay! But some of us can die. Well, but we will die for a good cause, saving people's lives as clinical nurse leaders, yay! Well, not everybody's going to die, just 5 of us. Yeah, I mean, I tried to come up with rhyming words. It's not so easy when you do it extemporaneously. But you get my point, my fellow CNL 2020 core members from Georgetown University. Yeah. More cases, more death. More cases, more death. More cases, more death. More cases, more death. More case, more death. More cases, more death. I like that better. More cases, more death. More cases, more death. More cases, more death. More cases, more death. Just teach that to your kids. You know what I'm saying? Because you want your kids not to get COVID. More cases, more death. It's not catchy. More cases, more death. More cases, more death. It's kind of fun. More cases, more death. Oh, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm an elementary school teacher. I keep it simple. You want knowledge to get through to the 5th graders. With short attention span. No cases, more death. I mean, minutes of talking, I just fly by them, 5th graders, More cases, more death. More cases, more death. You get the point across, Yeah, but anyway, I'll come back to you tomorrow and give you more helpful information that will help you and your children survive COVID. I hope that you'll be well and that your children will be well too. Bye.